Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports. I'm CJ Tully, and we've been seeing some teams really turn around their seasons. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. And like I said, there's some teams that are really starting to turn around their seasons, as well as some real surprises that are continuing their play from the beginning of the season where maybe we thought they would start to fall off. And that's where I want to start here with the Washington Nationals, because this is a team that really started the season hot with the Phillies and the Mets not playing well to start the season. The Nationals really took advantage of that. And they still find themselves second in the division just behind the Braves, but they're now 31-29 on the season, 6-4 in their last 10 games, and they're coming off winning 2 of 3 against the Padres this past weekend. Now, the Padres are another story I'll get to later on this week, but the Padres themselves, they lost 3 in a row to the Phillies, and now they lost 2 of 3 to the Nationals, so there's a lot going on with that team. But going back to the Nationals here, in Game 2 of this series, they won 9-4, and it was the bats getting it done in the 7th inning. They were able to put up 5 runs in the inning. Curtis Mead had a 2 RBI double in the 8th that really solidified the day for them. He had 3 RBIs on the day. You also saw Luis Garcia and Drew Mias go for 2 RBIs within this game. So a great performance here by the offense, and that's been a storyline that you'll continue to see here as I talk about the Nationals, is the way the offense has performed so far this season, and it continued this past weekend. Now, going into Game 3, they won 4-2 in this game. James Wood continued his performances this season with a 2-run home run, and he has been absolutely lethal at the plate. We saw him in the home run derby a couple of years ago, and we're starting to see that power finally translate to this lineup that's really producing around him to where he doesn't have to be the biggest star necessarily. This season, he's now hitting .272 with a .959 OPS, 16 home runs with 39 RBIs. A great season so far for James Wood. Maybe you'll see him in the home run derby yet again. Another guy that's really starting to get it together here for the Nationals is CJ Abrams, another young star. We saw him go it a little bit there with the Padres, coming over now to the Nationals, hitting .294, a .933 OPS, 12 home runs with 47 RBIs for CJ Abrams. And then Luis Garcia Jr., another guy, somebody I didn't really think was going to make the biggest impact on this Nationals team. He's hitting .268 with a .720 OPS, 5 home runs with 30 RBIs. So the lineup, again, really producing here for this Nationals team. It's been the biggest difference maker this season for them, but the pitching is really where you're still having the woes. The starters' ERAs are all between 3 and 5 ERA. That's not necessarily what you want to see, especially when the team is putting up so many runs. And you can look at this in a broader standpoint. They are the number 1 scoring offense, putting up 324 runs so far this season, but yet they're the second worst team when it comes to letting up runs, having 323. That's just in front of the Rockies so far this season. That's not a team you necessarily want to be in the same ballpark as. Now, they are 9 games behind in the division. That's because the Braves are absolutely lethal this season. They're going to be impossible to stop, it looks like, but they're just a game back in the wild card, and they're still above the Phillies, and the Mets are still struggling. So you could see a path here where the Nationals could really start to add some pitching at the deadline, and I think this is going to be a storyline that we see a lot here within the trade deadline, is teams needing some starting pitching, because I think that's something that a lot of teams across baseball are struggling with right now. But the Nationals could be a desirable spot here if this lineup is continuing to produce. Why wouldn't a pitcher want to come in here knowing that the lineup is going to put up so many runs that really they just can let up 1 or 2 runs and it'll be a solid day for them? So I think the pitching is really where it's going to come down here for the Nationals, but to still be competing here, 31-29 heading into June. This is a big season so far for the Nationals. Hope to see that continue for them. They will be starting a series this week with the Marlins, so that'll continue to increase their possible lead there within the division. Again, sitting just behind the Braves. But between the Phillies, the Nationals, and the Mets, it seems like one of them might be getting that wild card. I think the Mets you could rule out at this point. I think the Nationals might be your best chance right now for a second spot within the National League East. I do want to move over, though, to the AL side of things a bit here and talk about the White Sox, because they're on a 5-game winning streak after sweeping the Tigers this past weekend. In Game 1, they won 4-3 as a walk-off in the 13th inning. Miguel Vargas is the one to do it, and you just saw the energy that is in Southside right now. I continue to talk about the White Sox a lot this season because there's just so much energy right now. I know my buddy had actually picked the White Sox to make the playoffs this year, so shout out to you for that. But Miguel Vargas really carrying this team right now. He's really putting up some numbers that you wouldn't have expected heading into the season, coming over from the Dodgers. Now, somebody that we do need to keep an eye on here is Murtaki Murakami. He does look like he's going to be going onto the IL for about 3 to 4 weeks, so that could damage the team a little bit with the power inside in the middle of that lineup. But again, so many people performing for this team right now. Take Munetaka Murakami out, and they're still going to be able to get it done. Game 2, they won 7-1 with 3 home runs in this game. Game 3, they win 2-1. Montgomery had his second home run of the series within this game. The bullpen, though, is really where I want to specify where I'm talking about with this White Sox team. Now, Grant Taylor has been a stud this season, 2.55 ERA in 724 innings pitched. Sean Newcomb, a 2.62 ERA in 34 innings pitched. Brian Hudson, a 1.50 ERA in 24 innings pitched. And Sean Burke, a 0.68 ERA in 13 innings pitched. Now, this is something that's important for a team like the White Sox. Maybe the starting pitching is a little iffy. I talked about that with the Nationals as well. I think the White Sox could be another team that might be looking to add some starting pitching, but if you could shore up that bullpen, if this bullpen could continue to be locked down and this offense is going like it is, that's a great recipe for some wins, especially in a division that's pretty wide open. You're 7-3 in your last 10 games. You're up 3.5 games in the wild card, and you're just a game back of Cleveland within the division. So this is a White Sox team that is not done yet. Again, they're sitting second place and in a wild card spot right now heading into June. This is a great spot to be in for the White Sox, and it really puts up in the air whether or not they'll be buyers at the deadline or not. Again, we need to see the bats continue. What will they be without Munetaka Murakami? We'll see how this all plays out, but right now, this is a great team heading into June. They'll be starting a series with the Twins this week, so another team that's going to be able to add to their lead there within that division. And look forward to seeing what the White Sox are able to do. And finally, before we get out of here, we'll stay within the AL and talk about the Seattle Mariners, as they're another team that is currently streaking. They're on a 6-game win streak. They're coming off sweeping the A's last week, and then they swept the Diamondbacks this past weekend. And this is a Diamondbacks team that was getting hot at the right time. This was a Diamondbacks team that the lineup was putting it together. The pitching was starting to get going. And this is now a Seattle team that came in here, and they ended up sweeping them this weekend. A great performance by them. In Game 1, they won 7-6 in the 10th inning. You saw J.P. Crawford had 2 home runs in this game, 9 now on the season, and it was Randy Arozarena able to walk this game off. In Game 2, they won 5-1. Luke Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez both hit their second home runs of the series, so the pop has been there even without Cal Raleigh, and that's very important for a Mariners team that really relied on Cal Raleigh's pop to get them where they were last season, as Cal Raleigh had a phenomenal performance throughout the year last year. You also Brandon Wu in Game 2 goes 7 innings, allowing just 2 hits, no earned runs with 9 strikeouts. And then in Game 3, they won 3-2 in the 10th inning. Another rally from this team. Victor Robles was the one to walk it off. Dominic Calzone is another guy I want to talk about on this Mariners team. He, in the last 7 games, has 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, a 357 average, and a 1.4 OPS. He is somebody that homered twice within the series. And again, some of these unsung heroes are the ones stepping up for a team like the Mariners, who was struggling very early this season. Cal Raleigh has not yet been the guy that you were expecting to see after that season last year. The pitching we know is always going to be there for the Mariners, but there's still lots of question marks within this lineup. This division is not great. The A's are their biggest competition. They're able to just sweep them last week, as I said. The Astros and Rangers, still not sure what you're really getting there. The Astros have really just not had a great season whatsoever. The Rangers are pretty much just a 500 or worse team. You're not really sure where they're going to end up this season. So this division is wide open for the Mariners. Again, it's really going to be a race between them and the A's. And if they're able to perform like this, I really see something great happening for them. But as always, you can follow me here on YouTube. You can subscribe here. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Talk Sports. Check out everything I do on my website at letstalksports.com. I'll catch you guys next time with another episode.